What's up, Stephen A. Smith? My name is Paraf Patel, and I'm here to talk about why the NFL is not in danger. For the sole purpose of this argument, I'm just going to reflect on one thing and reason why the NFL is not in danger. The only reason why the NFL is not in danger is because they have no other competition to go against, like to sell their product of football, professional football. And like you look at arena football, but basically they don't have as much capital as the NFL does. So the NFL is going to keep its larger audience and media contracts and things like that. So, but the thing is, the NFL is actually going on a dangerous path, but it's not in danger. So I want to get to this point. The NFL is basically in a really dangerous path when you look at its stance against public opinion. For example, when you look at the Bountygate scandal, and how the commissioner basically used his power, and that the way he uses his power is questionable when you look at the Bountygate scandal, or like the Ray Rice incident where he was given the 2 game suspension, and then the video surfaced, and then you have everyone on social media erupting on the NFL, like, how did you take the stance? Did you not investigate this further? And then you have the Deflategate scandal, and you see the NFL and Roger Goodell's controversial stance on player safety. When you have a league that has created all these changes in the rule book, but honestly, those are just on the field changes. Those are all cosmetic changes to the league. But when you look at what they're doing off the field, just like how the NFL views its players on the field, we have to look at how the NFL is conducting itself off the field. When you look at themselves off the field, it's like basically they've taken away what's it called, the funding from the NIH. There was like a $16 million fund that they just took away, and now it's a taxpayer burden. See, there's controversial things that the NFL does and conducts itself that is questionable to see. Be like, whose side are you really on? Are you on the player side, which is, you're going to be progressive towards finding a solution or a true goal? Like, what's your agenda? And the NFL there's this question still looming around the NFL, like, what's it really doing for player safety? Changing the rules is going to do so much, but the thing is, back to the point of what you said, it's a violent sport, and it's always going to be violent. You can't change that. What you can change is how the NFL approaches its research, and the NFL taking away its research really reflects on the fact that they really don't care about the players. And even its stance on like marijuana, and like, as far as I'm concerned, the NFL has no right to talk about medical issues. And I mean, when you look at this, is the same organization that's like changing the rule book to protect its players, but when it comes to research, it denounces its findings. Also, you have like polls around the country. This is the point where the NFL gets wrong. They keep taking these stances that are against public opinion. What's the majority stance right now in America on marijuana? If you look at polls conducted, over 50% of people believe medical marijuana should be legal. And if the NFL to punish its players and taking a less favorable stance, it goes against public opinion. And once you do that, you're going to hurt your brand. When you look at the NFL and its stance on marijuana, you see that there is a real conflict on how it should ethically approach this and morally approach this. I took a bioethics course at Temple University, and one of the principles in ethics in medicine is called the principle of non-maleficence, where it is your duty as a physician or industry, a corporation, whatever, to make sure that you inflict the least amount of pain or suffering to oneself, like to a patient or someone. And that patient is the players. So if you are going to give them all these opioids and then cause them to become addicted to them, you're causing harm to them. What the NFL should try to do is cause less harm. And to your point, Stephen A. Smith, you said that you don't want marijuana to be okay in the league because you don't want players to get high and show up to practice or to work and on Sundays and be under the influence. But my proposition is, why doesn't the NFL create a solution where it can detect if some player is under the psychoactive drug? And how can it do this? Well, first of all, you don't take away funding from research. You don't do that. That's just backing on what you're saying. You have this is why I said the NFL has no credibility on this issue. If the NFL truly wanted to create a proper research, they would create a way that they can detect it. And I have a theory that they could apply. For example, there are headsets like EEGs that don't need any like liquid application or like a medium between the detector and like the EEG and your scalp. So basically, you can instill these in helmets and strap them up. So the question becomes, how can the EEG device be implemented in the NFL? Well, first of all, you can monitor players and see how they are, the algorithms, and everyone has a specific algorithm in their brain and how they normally function when it comes to, and then you can monitor those when they do certain tasks, when you're told to. Basically what this is trying to do is create longitudinal studies. And what you want to do is monitor players in a control environment, and you want to make sure that you're testing them for how their brain functions in different tasks that you give them. And with that information, you can see if that person is the same or different when they are in a control environment and when they are under the influence of marijuana. And if you can find these different algorithms, and if there's a deviation from the control group towards how they are under the influence, then they are under the influence, and then you can, go proceed with disciplinary actions through the team. So how can this EEG device help NFL monitor players and concussions? Well, basically, the NFL has taken all this money away from research. So, what was his name? Oh, yeah, there you go. Alexander Pope, he said, the proper study of mankind is man. And so, what that basically means, the best way to study concussions in the NFL is to study the players. And the thing is, every game we're wasting so much valuable data that can be used for long term to identify what certain parts of the brain are being affected through these concussions and different areas of the helmet where they get hit and like how they're affected. So basically, we have ways of monitoring the scarring in the brain when it comes to those collisions in the sport. But the thing is, we don't have a way to see how they cognitively affect you. And so basically what this EEG will do is see how those algorithms were from where the player, let's say if they're a rookie and and then a couple years down the road they have a concussion or something, they'll see how that affected their cognitive development, and then they'll see over long term, that's the whole point of longitudinal studies, where by the time of their retirement, you're going to be able to identify exactly how their brain was affected when it comes to their um, EEG. And the thing is, we base that off the algorithms created by the EEG. So the thing is, the NFL needs to have a progressive approach and instill these devices in helmets and try to monitor their players more and make them feel more safe and that they're actually trying to look at them. When you look at Luke Kuechly that was sitting on the ground, you don't know what happened to him. There's no data behind it. The only data you have is after it. You have to have a data that is collecting before the hit, during the hit, and after the hit, so that you know what parts of the body, what parts of the brain are being, shut down, or what parts of the body are being, effective when it comes to cognitive thinking. And so I think the NFL, no, it is not in danger, but it is going down a dangerous path. And it's really going to hurt their brand if they don't do something about player safety. And the best way to do this is actively, first of all, put money in funding. Secondly, use the data and resources you have right now, which are your players. There are many players out there that would voluntarily put on a helmet that has this device in it. All it does is track data. It's not like you're sending them into labs and making them lab rats or something. That's not the case. You have a field out there that they're being exposed to these environments, violent environments, where you have so much potential to gather all this data, but you don't want to because you're scared of the evidence that it's going to present. And that's a stance that is dangerous not even for the NFL, but for its players. And it's something that is alarming and needs to be addressed. And that's my take on the